call the meeting to order and welcome everyone here for our council meeting. I'll go to item 1.1, apologies. Looks like there's no apologies. So I'll move on to item 1.2. This council meeting is being live streamed and recorded. By speaking at the council meeting, you agree to be live streamed and recorded. Please ensure that if and when you speak at this council meeting that you ensure you're respectful to others and use appropriate languages at all times. City Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this meeting. A recording of this council meeting will be made for administrative purposes. Move on to item 1.3, which is acknowledgement of country. I would like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people who are the traditional custodians of the land. I would also like to pay respect to elders both past, present of the Wiradjuri Nation, extend that respect to other Aboriginal Australians who are present. 1.4, declarations of interest. Does any councillor wish to declare any conflicts of interest in any matter for consideration at tonight's council meeting? Councillor Power.
Yes, Mr Power. The Mayor, I would like to declare a conflict of interest in the Finance Policy Committee. 2.2, Central West Women's Forum. Just come to my attention that the very funds that they're attracting from council is the Indigenous food, which I am the cater for of Indigenous Cultural Adventures.
Thank you. Any others? No others. I'll move on to item 1.5, which is the opening prayer, and we welcome Mrs. Sohila Fadi and Mr. Matt is members of the Spiritual Assembly of the Bahas of Orange, and ask them to lead us in opening prayer. Could you step up to the lectern, please? I hope I got those names right.
The great being saith, the heaven of divine wisdom is illumined with the two luminaries of consultation and compassion. Take ye counsel together in all matters, inasmuch as consultation is the lamp of guidance, which leadeth the way, and is the bestower of understanding. Consultation bestoweth greater awareness, and transmuteth conjecture into certitude. It is a shining light, which, in a dark world, leadeth the way, and guideth, for everything there is, and will continue to be, a station of perfection and maturity. The maturity of the gift of understanding is made manifest through consultation. Say, no man can attain his true station except through his justice. No power can exist except through unity. No welfare and no well-being can be attained except through consultation.
O thou merciful God, O thou who art mighty and powerful, O thou most kind Father, servants have gathered together, turning to thee, supplicating thy threshold, desiring thy endless bounties from thy great assurance. They have no purpose save thy good pleasure. They have no intention save service to the world of humanity. O God, make this assemblage radiant, make the hearts merciful, confer the bounties of the Holy Spirit, endow them with a power from heaven, bless them with heavenly minds, increase their sincerity, so that with all humility and contrition they may turn to thy kingdom and to be occupied with service to the world of humanity. May each one become a radiant candle. May each one become a brilliant star. May each one become beautiful in color and redolent of fragrance in the kingdom of God. O kind Father, confer thy blessings. Consider not our shortcomings. Shelter us under thy protection. Remember not our sins. Heal us with thy mercy. We are weak, thou art mighty. We are poor, thou art rich. We are sick, thou art the physician. We are needy, thou art most generous. O God, endow us with thy providence. Thou art the powerful, thou art the giver, thou art the beneficent.
Thank you very much for that. There's no public speakers tonight, so I'll move on to item 2, which is mayoral minutes. There's no mayoral minutes as well. I'll move on to item 3.1, which is confirmation of the ordinary minutes of the previous council meeting.
The minutes.
Thanks, Councillor Whitten. Seconder, Councillor Peterson. Any speakers? No speakers. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? Carried. I'll move on to the policy committees. Now, I just wanted to say we might get the chairs to come and sit up here because I've had a couple of people saying where they were sitting they couldn't see the whole room. So I'm just going to move over to the side. So if the chairs could come up to here so then you can see what's going on. We can do that in future because I think we moved that when we had COVID regulations. So I'll call on Councillor Evans to conduct the Infrastructure Committee.
This is all right, isn't it?
Don't get used to it.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to open the Infrastructure Policy Committee at 6:37. Does any councillor wish to declare an interest in any matter in tonight's agenda? There being none, the recommendation is on page 6. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Duffy and a seconder. Councillor Peterson, thank you. Any discussion on the recommendation? Being none, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Unanimous. Item 3.1, the current works. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Whitten, Councillor Mallard. Any discussion on the current works? Being none, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Thank you. I'll close the Infrastructure Policy Committee at... Sorry, Councillor Duffy.
Phone.
Councillor Duffy.
Need a microphone, Councillor.
The first one is Maramba Place up there. I have been contacted by a number of residents up there as to regards to the long grass and everything that's up there. Just wondering if council can have a look at that. The next one is there's a number of ladies and gentlemen, about 15 to 20 of them, catch taxis and other minibuses and all those type of things in Mulder Street, and they're definitely getting sopping wet in the rain near those 41 units that are there, and they're mainly all elderly there, so I think we should look at something there. And the other one is I noticed alongside Wishart's mechanical repairs in Wentworth Lane, whether we can look at something there, because those cars go all the way up there, can't get onto the side of the road there to put people up or people off. It's an issue there because people have got disabilities there. It's a problem. And the last one is, Mr. Chairman, via you, Mr. CEO, is that I noticed there are a lot of placards around town and then on the roadsides and all those type of things there. And I just wonder, what is the council's policies there? I'd just like to think that our policy would be consistent, not only for local government elections, but for state elections and federal elections, because I do know that they were well and truly up well before, and I'm not picking on any political party at all, in any shape or form, but they've been up there and on the roadsides and those places there. And I think some of you might recall that we may take some of theirs down in the local government elections. So I would like to think that we are fairly consistent with that.
and thereby matters arising.
I'm taking on notice.
Beautiful. Thanking you. Any other matters arising? Beautiful. Thank you. I'll now close the meeting at 6:40. I hand over to Councillor Duffy to conduct the Finance Policy Committee.
Yeah. Was the start of the Finance Policy Committee meeting at 6:40, and first thing to do was call for any pecuniary interest, which we've already done, and I do note that Councillor Power has declared an interest in one of the things there. The first item on the agenda is 2.1, request for assistance, small donation program, round 3. There's a recommendation on page 5. I'd like to move that. So we're going to discuss and move Councillor Floyd, seconded Councillor Peterson. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to discuss the item, please, Mr Chair. Just with regards to number 2, to provide $2,500 to the Orange Male Voice Choir to go towards the payment of honorariums to the music director and accompanist. I don't have any objection to the recommendation per se, but my concern here is creating a precedent for every organisation to Orange who pays honorariums to their committee people. I know that with sport in particular, we have a lot of people who who volunteer their time and get paid honorariums, and I know that last year, I declare a conflict of interest here because I'm president of the Orange District Football Association, but we did it hard last year and we had to balance books and still pay honorariums. But I'm just concerned here that by approving this item, whilst I agree that they provide a valuable service to the committee, my concern is that we may create a precedent where any organisation can make the same request, whilst it's their right to do so. I guess I'm asking the CEO to, if he can provide some guidelines here as to whether honorariums form part of a donation.
Rob, to
Thank you.
In answer to that question, currently under the guidelines, it doesn't prohibit the payment of honorariums, but we haven't specified that it's specifically included, but they're not prohibited at this stage under the policy.
Okay, thank you. And whilst you're there, you may be able to answer my second question. I'm not sure whether you can, but just with regards to item number 1, consider the new information provided in this report regarding shake, rattle and roll applications to determine if the application will be funded under the Small Donations Program. I can't recall seeing there in the information provided what that new information was.
So we clarified with when they go and dance, where would the money raised go to for the Cancer Council? And the question was, would that go back to Orange? They couldn't specify exactly where that money would go to, but it would just be given back to the Cancer Council to distribute. So they couldn't actually confirm that it would go to Orange. It could go anywhere as part of that fundraising effort.
My understanding from reading the information provided was that there was some sort of suggestion that the money would go to a pool in Sydney and it would be up to the discretion of some person down there whether any of it actually came back into Orange.
Correct, yeah.
Thank you.
Any further discussion, councillors? Put the recommendation. All those in favour, raise your hand. 3, 4, 6, 7. Those against? 3.
So Miletto, Peterson and...
Yep, 3. I get 3, right?
Councillor.
Okay. I declare the motion carried. We'll move on to item 2.2. There's a recommendation on page 7 there. Councillor Power declared an interest. We shall wait till he leaves the room. Okay, councillors have a move and a seconder. Move Councillor Mallard, seconded Councillor McDonald. Any discussion?
I just have a question. I'm just curious about the maximum allowed is $2,000. They've applied for more than that. Is there anywhere on the form that tells them that the maximum is $2,000?
There you go.
So under the small grants program, we've got information on the website and also on the application forms that do talk about the amount that you can apply for, and the maximum is $2,000.
Couldn't see it on the form that we had here. It also requests evidence of the costs, and I know they've got a list of the costs, but do they actually give you evidence of it, like quotes and things, or?
They just provide on the application form, so they've written that it's the amount, and then when they acquit the funds, then we look for the expenditure of that money and the cost that it was spent on.
Thank you.
Any further discussion, councillors? No further discussion. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, raise your hand. Unanimous.
Mr. Chair, can I fall on my sword? 2.1, I should have given you guidance, recommendation that number 1, you needed to determine an amount. To consider the new information provided in this report regarding shake, rattle and roll application to determine application will be funded under small.
So, councillor, we'll go back with that one. So we're not discussing the male choir one. We're going to 2.1, 2.11.
Your rescission motion.
I've fallen on my sword, so I would ask councillors.
Okay, councillors, do we have a move and a second for that one to determine the amount?
Yep. I have no asking that we.
We need the amount. Yeah.
What did they ask for initially?
Give us a second, we'll find the
Would the mover and seconder be happy if we leave it to add to that resolution that we give delegated authority to the CEO to approve the amount?
The CEO was shaking his
Mover
head.
and seconder happy with that? Is the mover and seconder? Yep. Lloyd and Peterson happy with that? Councillors, thank you. Put that resolution. All those in favour say aye or raise your hand. Unanimous. Okay, councillors, we now move on to 2.3, which is reallocation of finance. Let's hit round 4. Live at yours. There's a recommendation on page 19, sorry. Someone like to move that resolution? Move Councillor Mallard. Seconded Councillor Evans. Any discussion, councillors? No discussion. I'm going to put that resolution. All those in favour, raise your hand. And unanimous. We now move on to 2.4, which is reallocation of financial assistance round 4 for Banjo Patterson Festival. We have a move and a second for that. Councillor Floyd, seconded Councillor Peterson. Any discussion, councillors?
Just have a question, Mr. Chair. When I look at this, I would have liked to have been provided the original information, which I don't appear to have. My concern with, whilst I support the recommendation in principle, just concerned by carrying that unused money over to the next term or next year financial budget. What would occur if there was some change in the way the event's been conducted, or if for some unfortunate reason we have another situation where we have COVID or some other pandemic, what would happen then? So I'm not sure why we wouldn't ask the applicant to reapply next year rather than just carry it over when there is an unknown as to where we may be or what our situation we'll be looking at next year.
Yes.
Oh, point taken, Chair. Real comment.
I'll be speaking against the recommendation at this point in time because, for one, I haven't been provided the original information that we're relying on to make a decision to move it forward to next year. There are too many variables are unknown as to what next year is going to look like. So I'd be more comfortable if the applicant would reapply next year as they have done in previous years. I'll be speaking against it. No, I'd speak against it.
Speakers. Any further speakers for Councillor?
Yes, Mr Chair. Just in relation to a question, so would the funds be housed and then, as what Councillor Lato said, then reapply, or do we lose it, or I just need some clarity on it there.
Generally speaking, we don't give money unless they acquit it. So they've spent the money. So we won't just give them the 10 and hope. You know, they'd have to acquit it.
Sorry, just a point of clarification. So they haven't received the money as yet.
Any further discussion, councillors? I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour, raise your right arm. Those against? 3, 4. Yep, we voted. Thanks, I declare that motion carried. Councillors, that gives thing. I have a matter arising as regards to you would have received an email from the Orange Show Society, and I just want to raise the issue there. I'd like to move a resolution, and that resolution is that we offer the Orange Show Society $5,000 towards their show in their costs towards the stables. Previously, councillors, we have, well, I won't speak about it. Do I have a second for the resolution? Yeah, I'll second. Thank you, Councillor Hamley. I'll speak for it from here because previously we have donated, last year we donated $10,000. Prior to that, there was no show. Before that was $4,000 towards the stables because you might recall that the council's knocked the stables down. And that has created a problem. They have to bring up the stables from Victoria. They're bringing up around about 32 or 31 stables. And Mr Lamrock and Ms Norris contacted me as regards to what could happen. I know they came and saw staff here at the council, and there were some misunderstandings, probably more so on their behalf from there. And with the show on in the next week or so, I think it'd be only common sense that we do make a donation to the Orange Show Society towards the cost of those stables that we're talking about. And we also wish to leave the authority, if the relevant forms come to the General Manager, we give that authority to the General Manager to put his seal on it and pass it on to the Show Society.
Could I just ask a question? What fund would that 5,000 come out of? Is it available?
Rob did some research and available.
We do have a category under our events sponsorship grant funding, the Quick Response Fund. Now, the Quick Response Fund is a funding available for larger events where the opportunity for sponsorship occurs outside usual application timeframes. They're usually for new or unplanned events, and the funding amount ranges from $1,000 to $20,000. Under our events sponsorship program, we do have money still in the budget, so there is budget there if you would like to allocate it to the show.
My understanding is too is that they missed the deadline to.
Correct. So the round 4 closed on the 10th of February. This is for our event sponsorship grant funding, and that was for events to be held on the 1st of April to the 30th of June.
Can I just have a point of clarification? Councillor Duffy, so what was the nature of the misunderstandings? Was it like around COVID and they didn't know if the show would go ahead, so they didn't apply, or?
No, the show was cancelled because of COVID in 2020.
Yeah, but so this year, why they haven't met the deadline this year?
Why didn't they apply this year?
Why didn't they apply?
Why didn't they apply for the?
They came and saw council, and I think the deadline had passed and things like that. As I said
Okay.
before, there was a bit of a misunderstanding, probably more so on their behalf. They've got a brand new committee which is operating there. It's sad that the show has gone back to 1 day instead of 2 days for a city like Orange,
I agree.
and I think we should be putting a bit of effort in to
Yeah.
assist the Show
Yep.
Society.
I'm happy to support it. I just I think maybe we could, if council staff could, the committee, and just sort of work with them so that next year this doesn't happen again, so that they have plenty of notice next year.
I think they.
Mr. Chair, sorry, I'll speak for this. Remember it's the 150 year of the show, so it's a pretty special milestone. Obviously, with a new committee, the time frame mustn't have been met, and I think if there has been a bit of history where we've provided money for the stables, and we all did receive a pretty lengthy email this afternoon, so that's probably discussions to have further on. But I think as a show of goodwill and helping out the show, I think it'd be great if we could donate to help them with the stables.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor.
What are we going to do next year? What's the longer term strategy? This particular issue has been around for almost 5 to 8 years.
Ooh.
Not 10. Nearly lost the mayor over the balcony.
I didn't push hard enough.
He had a job full time. So is there a strategy about what we do around the stables? And are we going to, in the strategy, are we finally going to get fair income out supporting the Orange Show or not? Because it's been going on for years. I know it's not been regarded as the realm of council's responsibility. We are the caretaker of that Crown land. Through you to the
Yes,
CEO.
I'm going to pass that over to the CEO because I think he has enough common sense to address the issue when the Show Society come and visit him.
Mr. Chair, I think there's some rhetoric in that question that to work closer with this society and sort out things like that. I don't know whether Mr. Morton has current plans, but I don't think there are any strategies or plans. Right, we now own the showground. Game changes.
Councillor Evans.
Mr. Chair, through you to the director, if this information was in front of you like any other resolution, based on the criteria for the quick response program, would you recommend it?
It does meet the criteria of the Quick Response Fund, and the reason my understanding the reason that category was established was exactly for reasons like this, where there has been events that have missed deadlines or couldn't get into the rounds, and it is a need that council or a desire that council would like to fund those events or support those events. So, yes.
Thank you. And given that I'll speak in favour of the motion, I think, like Mr. Mayor and the Chair have said, being the 150th year, I think they're expecting bigger numbers than they did last year. I think in the email they said they got an extra 3,000 people expected through the gates with a bigger reach. So this extra $5,000 I think really could do wonders for them. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. Any further discussion? If not, I'll put the resolution. All those in favour, raise your arm. Thank you, councillors. That was unanimous. I now close the Finance Policy Committee at 7 o'clock. And I call on Councillor McDonald to chair the Services Policy Committee.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. I'd like to open the Services Policy Committee meeting for 3rd of May 2022 with time being 7 p.m. Firstly, do we have any councillors to declare pecuniary interest, significant non-pecuniary interest and all the other kinds of interest? Excellent. Alrighty. So, sorry, let me just bring up the... We've got item 2.1, we've got the minutes of the NAIDOC Week Community Committee held the 7th of April 2022. The recommendation is on page 5.
Second the recommendation.
By Mr Mayor. Hamling, seconded by Councillor Whitten. Any discussion? Nope, no discussion. Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? No one against? It's passed. That was nice and short and sweet. Thank you, councillors. That concludes the Services Policy Committee meeting, and the time is 7:01. Is that the fastest meeting in history? I call on Councillor Hamling to resume council meeting.
Thanks, Councillor McDonald. I'll just a couple of minutes, Council. We're having a few. Thank you, Councillor Milletta. Okay. Being no other policy committees, the council meeting will officially resume. I'll move on to notices of motion and notice of rescission. Item 4.1, which is notice of motion from Councillor Peterson about community committee information. Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My motion is that the council's website and social media keep a publicly available diary of the community dates, times and locations.
Yeah, thank you.
Periodically, the information is sent out via social media to encourage community attendance. I personally am aware of the details of the meetings that I chair and am part of, but I'm not aware of the others. I think it would allow for improved community engagement if the information is accessible and regularly reminded through social media. The ultimate goal being that if councillors have free time outside of their community responsibilities, they may spontaneously arrive, and same with the citizens of Orange. I might just say off a little example there. I've been very grateful, Mr. Mayor, that you have attended all of the committees that I've chaired as an observer, and have had advice. And I think if you're not on the committee, you can't propose motions and votes and the like. And it's not so much to speak and influence, but just to learn and understand the various issues important to the different groups of Orange.
Any speakers?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I support this resolution 100%. The only thing that I come to my mind when I read the resolution is that the fact that a lot of our committees, or not a lot of them, but some of them meet from time to time. Criteria, so I think that should be something that is noticed for some of the.
Thanks, Councillor Duffy. Councillor Milletta, did you have your hand up? No. No other speakers. I'll put the motion. All in favour, raise your hand. Against? Unanimous. I'll move on to item 4.2 is from Councillor Peterson, notice of motion about road namings. Councillor Peterson.
Mr. Mayor, the motion being that the council seek community suggestions, the names of historical people with strong links to Orange. Names could be considered for the names of new roads.
Could I have a seconder, please? Seconded, Councillor Mallard. Councillor Peterson.
There's been discussion recently about a renaming of the Northern Distributor Road. It may well be that there are other historical Orange residents who, through achievement or service, may be considered appropriate to recognise through naming of a street in their honour. Having a list of these names may make this easier to realise. I'd like community involvement. It's been suggested to council staff that the online, potentially Your Say site may be a way to do this, given that councillors and council staff, we will have knowledge of certain groups and people and individuals, but a broader cross-section would allow for a broader consideration of potential people to be involved.
Councillor Whitten.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would ask, would the mover consider changing a word in the motion and to add streets as well? Motion only considers new roads. In the background, it talks about streets as well. Mover consider adding to the motion the
Most definitely, I think probably a good example of a councillor with things to learn in terms of roads and streets. Whatever.
Happy with that? Yep. Any other speakers? Councillor Duffy.
Chairman, Mr. Mayor, sorry. I have a bit of a problem with it. I mean, when I read the first line, it says suggestions of names of common historical people.
The word common.
You're wiping me out straight away. I mean, what's going on? I mean, I think it probably should be prominent historical people in there instead of common. I mean, it wipes you out too, Mr. Mayor and Councillor Whitten. Yeah, I mean, but I just wonder whether you change that word there to make it prominent historical citizens.
Common. The rest of us are common.
Common to all of Orange, but I'm happy just to remove that word.
Thank you. Any other speakers? No other speakers. I'll put the motion. All in favour, raise your hand. Against? Unanimous. I'll move on to item 4.3, which is notice of motion, community consultation on the function centre. Councillor Greenhalgh.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
So the motion that we engage with the Orange community through online and face-to-face consultations on the future use of the Orange Function Centre. Point 2, that after community feedback is received from consultation, Council draft a master plan for the Orange Function Centre to be placed on public exhibition for 28 days. 3, that Council be updated on the history of notable works and upgrades of the Function Centre to date. And point 4, that Council be provided with information about any proposed upgrades and costings.
Any other speakers? Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'd like to thank Councillor Greenhalgh for bringing this motion up. I really think it's a great initiative. The Function Centre really is a good community asset, and prior to COVID we had heaps of events there, and we had our Dance for Cancer there, I think, at the end of March. But talking to the business community in particular, there really is a need for significant investment in this area. You talk to the people that operate and run the events there, particularly the AV guys, say it's doable, but it's getting really difficult. And the guys in the kitchen as well say, look, it's a kitchen, but to keep serving the increasing number of people that we do, we need an upgrade. Then the people that are wanting to use it, so wouldn't this be a great conference centre? So to upgrade it, really put the money into it and have it double as a function/conference centre could be a great idea. I understand that we've got a lot of big projects on the boil now. I don't expect to get funding straight away, but we need to have that conversation with the community, get the master plan, so when we finish the jobs we're doing, we've got the vision, we can start applying for grants, we can get into it. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Evans. Councillor Miletto.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have two questions, and probably both to the CEO. First one is, it's my understanding that Council looked at this building in our last term of Council.
Mr. Chair, it was looked at. I'm not sure it was the last term. Council looked at it. Director Mortar came back with a...
I think it's been looked at every time.
And the proposition was, what to do with it. And Councillor Mortar was to get to a certain standard. All these things we can reprise. Issues around asbestos. Basically, Council looking at, could you get rid of it or could you... Well, it's sort of...
Assuming that I'm hoping it'd be an opportunity for councillors, if we could be provided with that report, to give us a better understanding moving forward on what they those uses could potentially be. My second question to you, Ms. CEO, is with regards to a new function centre per se. I did hear a rumour, and you may wish to elaborate, that is Council considering new function centre on the new sporting precinct site?
No, Councillor Miletto. No, the design is for a sports stadium. Full stop.
Thank you.
Councillor, oh, sorry, can I just say, I know there was, in one of the terms, I don't know which council term, talk of that maybe replacing it, and there was so much community backlash because there is a big history down there. So I'll just make that comment. Councillor Whitten.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, look, I congratulate the council for putting this motion up. For years we've been in protection mode of that particular facility, which is has a long history of families that got together to build that facility. And every time we've tried to justify making improvements to it, we get told that don't do that because Kinross have got a facility and ex-services are going to build a facility and someone's going to do something, but nothing ever happens. Here we are, it keeps getting dilapidated, it's going to cost more money to fix up. A function centre in this city. When I was a younger fella, which wasn't all that long ago, it was used every weekend. It was always used, and the reason it's not used now is because it doesn't pass muster for events. So I look forward to getting the report back, and I certainly look forward to getting on with doing something, improving that facility for the use of Orange.
Can I just ask a quick question? So with the function centre space, the ex-services club holds around 400, and is it true that the function centre 700? Like, is there that big a gap?
Mr Chair, I believe so. That is the scale of it. And on Councillor Whitten's topic, right, there was talk of the ex-services doing a big play. That play is not. They had a DA approved, but.
Councillor.
I think from memory it's like 600.
Yeah. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. We're correct as regards to, we've had a number of discussions about this over in previous council and as we've been put up. But I have a couple of concerns what we're going on here. I think from memory, I think one of the reports said that the function centre was used for 260. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, it was used for quite a number of days and nights doing that. Yeah, but I do know that if we control and give it to someone else, we cannot help community organisations that raise funds for cancer. Other two things that come into this city too, that the one of our city raised funds for. But what concerns me a little bit here, and it's maybe something that should be looked at, Mr CEO, is when us as councillors put in a resolution to come up in front of council, we're required to give 10 days. That's for staff comment. And I don't see any staff comment here. Talking about the 10 days, or should we bring it back to 5, or what should we do? I mean, that's that concerns me.
Okay.
I mean, because there's plenty of times we wanted a deadline. We do it.
Mr Chair, the reason there's no staff comment here is that we have extensive work to do under this motion. No point doing it under the motion. Got to come up with a big report.
I don't read that here.
I could have written that. Yes, correct. I stand corrected. Happy to always provide staff comment. Yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Duffy. Councillor Kinghorn.
Just a question. How old is it, and what's the heritage status? I know it doesn't look like a heritage building, but.
And my director's here. Hodges.
Yeah.
Through you, Mr Chair, we recently celebrated the 50th anniversary, so it's about 53 years old. No heritage significance.
So the attachment that the community has to it is based purely on the fact that it was through donated funds rather than...
Certainly a lot of community involvement. And that is part of the challenge. You're updating or proposing to update a building that was constructed over 50 years ago. That is some of the proposed upgrade, and does have significant asbestos within it as well.
Significant asbestos? Oh, sorry. Yep. Okay.
So they are some of the constraints. So do you want to update a 50-year-old house, or do you build a new one? That's part of the challenge.
Thanks, Mr.
Sorry,
sorry, Councillor Kinghorn.
are there alternative sites?
Council at the moment doesn't own an alternative site. We did look at possibility of a site up at the with a realignment of Hill Street, a triangle at one point, but that council didn't adopt that. But we don't have any other sites in mind at this point.
So if it was to be demoed and rebuilt, then it would obviously be out of action for quite a while, which might be an issue as well.
Would be, yes.
Thanks, Councillor Kinghorn. Councillor McDonald?
I'd just like to, even though we've got quite a few, but speak in favour of the motion. I'll second what Councillor Evans said, that this is a great opportunity to get the ball rolling on getting a really good up-to-date conference and function centre for Orange.
There being no other speakers, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? Unanimous. I'll move on to item 5, which is general reports. Item 5.1, which is the New South Wales Roads Local Congress. And can we nominate attendees, please?
I'll nominate the Infrastructure Chair.
Councillor Whitten.
Oh, sorry, I need a mover for the...
I'll move it, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Seconded, thanks.
And nominate Councillor.
And nominate Councillor Evans.
I'll accept the nomination, thank you.
I'll just make a comment. I just look reading through the speakers there, and there's some of them are quite prominent. I do think it's probably good if Councillor Whitten or myself went.
Councillor Whitten was
I'm just reading
our comment section.
Yeah, I'm
nominate both of us, and we can.
Councillor Mileto, you nominate?
Look, I just have a question. You're the Traffic Committee, I may be interested, but I guess my question is, I looked in the staff comment, there's only 3 delegates permitted to attend. I'm just wondering whether it would be more appropriate CEO and yourself, Mr Mayor, would attend. Or is there an appetite for the council staff to attend?
It's usually, I thought in years gone by it's been Mr Greenham, correct?
It says 3 delegates. I'm just wondering who the most...
Pardon?
I think the 3 is...
Well, Councillor Duffy nominated, correct? So there's 2.
Is there a cost?
It's a one-day event.
Is something
is there a
Councillor
registration
Mileto
cost?
mentioned? So there's
Registration cost.
registration cost of, I think it's 495 plus accommodation. Would Councillor Mileto, as chair of the Traffic Committee, be interested?
Oh, look, I think that Councillor Duffy is very vigilant when he goes to functions like this. I'm confident that he and Councillor Evans would bring back the appropriate information for all councillors, so I don't see any real need for me to go along at the expense of the ratepayer, I guess.
Do we have to have 2? 3? No? We'll just have... I'll just say we'll have 2. That'll be Councillor Evans and Councillor Duffy. Can I have all those in favour? Against? Carried. I'll move on to item 5.2, which is funerals at the Botanic Gardens.
Recommendation.
Recommendation, Mr Chairman, but I want to add up dot point 4.
I'll let him move it and then add.
Let him move it so there's no amendment.
Councillor Duffy.
I want to add dot point 4 that this be a trial period for 12 months on the end of May 2023. And the reason for the council, someone second.
Did someone second that? Yeah, Councillor Mileto.
So my reason for that is that I've been contacted by many people, and there's a lot of them elderly and those type of things, and they're not happy with it. I did a survey with 30 bus drivers at my work against it as well, but I mean they're my vintage as well, so probably come from a different thing. But I did take notice of what Councillor Kidd said. Now I know very much that myself and former mayor are totally different in politicals and totally different in religion. But what I did take a notice from his letter is there that the original committee that was set up out there was the given to us by the Orange Development Corporation, and Councillor Kidd, or the former Councillor Kidd, and the former Mayor Dick Niven, and Rodney Tonkin, and a former local ratepayer in Dr. Bernie Hustable were prominent in the creation of from that site. Now that again gives the 12 months the opportunity for elderly people or those people to come forward, because I did make a comment, and it gives us a way out if it's a failure, way forward if it's successful. I think it's a 12-month period to work with. I think you've got to go the 12 months. You just say, oh, we're going to honey it in 3 months or 4 months and through the winter months. If I die, I put you through the winter months, so don't worry about that. But I think you've got to go through the summer months and the autumn months to go through that way. And that's the biggest reason why I put it there. Let people have the opportunity to go there, witness what's absolutely happening, and let the comments come in.
Yeah, that was moved and second. That's the motion. Did someone? Oh, Councillor Mileto seconded. Councillor Greenhalgh.
So just a comment in relation to Councillor Duffy. It's sort of a two-pronged approach. Like, I can see what you're saying by making it a 12-month trial period, but by the same token, there's nothing that ever says we can't revisit things. I think as a new council, when we've put it on 28 display, like 28 days already, it's sort of, I have to be careful with my terminology here, a half approach if we just say we're going to run with it for 12 months and just see how it pans out.
You're speaking against it?
Yes.
Speaking against them.
Yeah, I'm speaking against the amendment.
No, it's a motion.
Motion, sorry.
It's a motion. So he added a .4, so you're speaking against the motion.
The motion, which is added the dot.
So Councillor Greenhalgh is speaking against the motion, correct?
Yep. Mayor.
Okay. Councillor Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I definitely speak against the motion in relation to this, and I understand and have read in depth the previous mayor's comments today. At the end of the day, they had a set period to comment. The numbers have come in, and the numbers are here as what we read. If we go and revisit it again in another 12 months, what are we doing? Really? I'm speaking passionately about this here because we're just not doing the right thing. Community have spoken, and I understand that Mr. Reg Kidd had actually made a comment today. He had every right to go online and mention that online, but the numbers have come in significantly already, 75, 80%. These are the things that the community have spoken again about. Feel that this chamber will reflect badly.
Yep.
If we put something that's already been put out there on the very platform of social media, and I'm sorry if I'm really going a bit anky on this here, but there's something that we can't afford to be showing disfaced to those who already commented. The numbers are already in vogue of what we see here. 71% attended garden, 75% respond where supportive of weekend funeral days, 44%, 50%. These are data that has come in. They've been given the Orange City, the Orange community have given ample opportunity. Just because a member of our communities decides to go on platform today, I don't think that is what we should be seeing. And this is my own point of view. I speak passionately against the motion.
Councillor Whitten.
Mr. Mayor, for process, I'll move an amendment that the original motion is printed. Second that.
Second that, Councillor Mallard.
Okay. So technically, what Councillor Powell has said is correct. We put out a structured information for day submission. Those individuals responded to that motions and structure, and we're now adding a piece that they never got a chance to talk about. So for process, a number of councillors have spoken against the original motion. Without an amendment, if you vote against it, you would kill the entire motion, right? So with the amendment, I leave that in council's hands.
I don't want to speak against the amendment. The reason for speaking against the amendment is that you look at the information that's provided to us, it's given to us from Your Say Orange. Literally people go to Your Say Orange. Literally people read the local paper, it's only about 4 pages wide. And we have a committee up there, voluntary committee that's looked after that place for 40 years. 40 years. Is there any consultation with them? We're all good about consultation, we've got to go and do this, we've got to do that. Did we consult with the very committee that kicked it off and looked after it and tended the needs of it? Looked after the plants? Do that. I'm saying give us 12 months. Stopping anyone from going up there, it might only be 2 or 3 a year, who knows? I don't know. It could be 40, 50, I don't know. But it's giving the opportunity for other people to come back and say, look, okay, it comes back in 12 months' time. Yes, it's a goer, or no, it's not. Yes, we can review it automatically, but seal it down here now, it's virtually going to be going to have to wind itself and say, oh, we got it wrong. But we're giving ourselves a chance to have a proper consideration, and we're giving ourselves a proper chance to talk to the committee that put a lot of yards in there right from day one, that took the blackberries away, that took all these other things away that was up there.
Councillor Maletta.
Thank
sorry,
you,
you finished? Finished?
Yep.
Yeah, Councillor Maletta.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I find myself supporting Councillor Duffy here. Personally, I think it's responsible of council to have flexibility in all decision making. And that allows us the opportunity to have a look. Whilst we're asking for feedback, what it is, it's people's opinion on what they would like to see. But in saying that, once that feedback has been provided and we put a system in place where certain things are going to happen, it gives us the opportunity to monitor how that plays out. After 12 months, we're not saying we're going to knock it on the head. It just gives us the opportunity to review what is already being done, and it may be an opportunity to improve things further. We might find that there is an opportunity for more funerals or other things to occur. But we don't want to close all communications with the public and say, okay, this is going to go ahead and whatever. And a point to be taken here is that in 12 months' time, there may be a councillor who wants to move another notice of motion for something else to happen. So we could knock it on the head if we wanted to anyway. But by Councillor Duffy's amendment to the motion, it allows flexibility in our decision making and the opportunity, like I said, to have a good look at the way things are going, and if we need to make changes, well, we can do that. I don't see anything in Councillor Duffy's amendment or to change it which prohibits us from doing that, and what it does is allow more flexibility, and I'll be supporting his amendment to have another point.
Councillor Kinghorn.
Yeah, I'm just curious about the feedback was generally online. Did we get feedback that wasn't online? Because there's a certain demographic that doesn't engage that way, and I'm just curious about whether that was. And did we speak to the Friends of the Botanic Gardens to see what they thought about it?
I'm aware that there was discussions with some members of the Friends of the Botanic Gardens. I'm not sure whether that was in a formal sense or not, like whether it was done at an actual meeting or not. But we have fairly regular discussions with members of the Friends. There was opposition to the idea expressed by those members that we spoke to verbally. Certainly that was the case. We did receive written submissions by email predominantly for this proposal.
And so that was counted in the
Yes, it was.
the information that we got.
Yep.
And what was the basis of so with the Friends of the Botanic Gardens, what was the basis for their
People didn't think it
disapproval?
was appropriate. Sorry, Councillor, I
Oh,
interrupted.
no, that's okay.
People felt it wasn't appropriate.
Why?
It was their personal point of view. They didn't feel it was appropriate
Wait.
to have.
Sorry, Kego.
They didn't feel it was appropriate to conduct funerals in an open space with coffins present. Is their views.
Okay, just a bit hard to have a
Just a
funeral
point of
without a coffin.
clarification, Mr Mayor. My point of clarification is we normally have redactions mentioning enclosed, and I can't see any to make our informed decisions.
Can I get some clarification there? What are we looking at here? Redactions?
Missions.
A list of the names of all the.
Is that strictly true, Mr. Acted submitters? I don't think that's true, Mr. Chair.
Can we just answer that question, please?
Manning.
Actions, yeah.
Obligation to have other lists, I believe.
Any fault?
Thank you. Thanks for that.
Mr. I'm going to speak against the motion. Don't need to put a motion in place. Ask for a report any time in this chamber. In 12 months' time, we can ask staff for a report on what's happening up at the Botanic Gardens with regard to funerals. We don't need to we don't need to make a motion out of it. What it does, if it is in the motion, technically the review go back on 28-day submission. Cost to the community, it costs the staff time. But we can ask for reports anyway. And Councillor Miletto's right. It's about flexibility. In this chamber, we can stand up any time and ask for a report. I don't need it in the motion.
Councillor Greenhalgh.
Yeah, and I'd just like to make this, I'm very passionate about this as well. I truly believe if we to go with the amendment, it's like we're just going...
The motion.
The motion, it's like we're just going, we'll just do it for 12 months and that will shut them up. I don't think that's good enough for a new council to do that. I think if we're going to do it, we've got to be passionate about it. We were voted in by our community to make the right decisions, and the numbers do speak for themselves. I understand there is, an older demographic in our community. Things are changing. It's like I said originally, do you as a parent make a conscious decision not to drive past a church with your child because they may see a coffin? That's what I ask each of you. The mental health of young children is important. Funerals, yes, they're confronting, but for young children to have the opportunity to attend a funeral in an open space, just relaxes things a lot more. I think we're not doing justice to our younger community if we don't consider this.
Councillor Mallard.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I'm speaking in support of Councillor Whitten's amendment and of the original recommendation in the report. I think we should just make this decision. We can always, as has been said, revisit it. I can understand that for some people it doesn't fit with their traditional conception of a funeral, but I think providing the opportunity for people to be able to have an open air funeral if that's the sort of service they want to have, good. I think we've got a policy in place that's going to manage other users of the gardens. It's going to see a new use to the garden. It's also potentially going to see more use of the function centre up there at the gardens as well. So I think there's a whole lot of benefits to this. I think there's the opportunity to revisit it or to request data about how it's going, but I really don't think we need. Thanks.
Councillor Floyd.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to speak in favour of the original motion. If I may, I just wanted to know, can there be delineated areas put in around said funerals or whatever that's going to be up there If so, what would that look like? What sort of barricading, etc.? And what cost for council, if any, would that look like?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the proposal would be that we'd delineate the area with signage, and the area that's proposed is able to be sectioned off from the rest of the gardens. To get to the proposed area, you would have to walk past those signs, make a choice whether to proceed or otherwise. So we wouldn't barricade off, or don't propose to barricade off a pathway. We would simply have signage up saying funeral in progress. And then you can go left or right, depending on what if you don't want to walk past the funeral, you go right or left, as the case may be. If you don't mind, well, then you continue down the pathway. The signage is a minimal cost. Part of the fee is proposed to meet those costs. So if we have 5 funerals there a week at $300 each, that'll be $1,500 in revenue. Some of that cost goes to preparing of the area. The other cost would be to meet incidentals such as signage, for example. So that's broadly the idea.
So my sort of theory around that is, if you wanted to get into that area, it's a conscious decision that you make with yourself or your family or whatever, and you can avoid that area. You're not just going to walk in there without some sort of signage or knowing what's going to be down there.
You would have to walk past signage, Councillor, that's correct, saying
Yep.
funeral in progress ahead, and an arrow off if you didn't choose to walk past it, for example.
Thank you.
That's fine, thank you.
So do we understand the amendment will be first? The amendment is...
Close the debate, Mr. Chairman.
You spoke against it, yeah? You can close the debate, yep.
Mr. Chairman, councillors, all we're doing is asking for a 12-month so we can see what's actually happening. I'm not going to preach to anyone about whether they should be going there near a funeral, or whether they should be there, or whether they shouldn't be there, or what religion they are. I am about that, but about the actual rights of individuals. What I am saying now is, if you leave it for 12 months and you give yourself time to think and we survey the situation that happens, the Ploughman's Lane wetlands, Cook Park, Robertson Park, all these parks here, you've got the answer already set right there in concrete. But people here, you could have opened a can of worms. And the other issue is, you're talking about not consulting with a committee. And you go back to the further reductions of what the information. That's all I've got to say. I'm not very fussed either way.
I'll put the amendment, which is the original motion, correct?
Correct. 1, 2 and 3.
1, 2 and 3. All for the amendment? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Against? The amendment becomes the motion. No, is that right? Yes, the amendment, sorry. The amendment becomes the motion. All in favour, raise your hands. Against. And against. Yeah. Item 5.3, temporary winter indoor playground. Thanks, Councillor McDonald. Seconded by Councillor Greenhalgh. Any speakers? No speakers?
I'll just speak to it if that's okay.
Sure.
I think this is great. I commend council staff on the quick turnaround of the report and investigating options. It's really exciting to see that we can hopefully get this up and running.
Councillor Duffy's on his feet. You go, Councillor Duffy. You haven't said anything online.
Councillors, look, I think this is a fantastic opportunity to give something for the people to actually attend. Like as we said, we've had things before and they haven't been that successful, but this is an opportunity to make something be successful. I am fully supportive of report 1 and number 2, but I do have reservations about the site number 3, but I'm pretty sure the staff will do everything possible to make sure it goes to the other one, because there are financial benefits there for the ratepayers of Orange. think it's a fantastic idea.
Thanks, Councillor Duffy. Councillor Miletto.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question, and I support the recommendation. I just had a question. I did read a comment there that this would be funded by unused money from this year. I'm just wondering, Mr. CEO, whether you could enlighten the council of how much money is unused in this year's budget.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I can't give you an exact number, but I can tell you that I'm very confident that we can find the funds for this operation.
Looking at the time frame, I think it goes through from the 1st of June to the 1st of September. Some of this money will obviously carry over into next year's budget. I'm curious to know how much was unused and whether there's money there available for other worthwhile projects as well.
Answer again, through you, Mr. Chair. I would have to find a staff position that's not filled to find. Confident I can full amount.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Miletto. I just want to thank the staff for these ideas that came up. It's all been said before about this. So I just want to thank the council staff. I think considering the weather we had on the weekend, this will be a fantastic improvement for the families who want to use it, and hopefully it gets well patronised. And I just want to thank the council staff. So I'll put the motion. All in favour? Unanimous. Against. 5.4, which is on page 45.
Motion, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Whitten, seconder. Thanks, Councillor Evans. Councillor Whitten.
I've got one question through you to the CEO. Page 49, line 8, Mulder Park, Rage Cage.
Yep.
Is that where you go after you meet with Councillor Duffy, is it?
Through Mr. Chair, I'm going to ask Director Morner to answer this because it's his project.
I can't even read
The
it.
calm container, Rage Cage.
Sorry, Councillor, the question is, what is it?
What is a Rage Cage at Mulder Park?
A rage cage is a proprietary name. So basically what it is a multi-sport. So if you think of a netball court, for example, around the perimeter of a netball court is a fencing, and then within that there is multiple sports. So going across the court, you could have you would have basketball. So for half court basketball, going lengthwise, you would have soccer goals built into either end. So you could play futsal or soccer games. There'd be a netball court on another part of that court. There'll be a hit-up area for playing, hitting up tennis, handball, etc.
Playing the ball within that perimeter.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's a self-contained multiple sports product. Rage Cage is a proprietary name, but there's many different options. So, but that's just what they're called.
It's fenced.
Fenced.
So,
Like a locked fence that people will be locked out of.
Not an MAA cage.
Some higher ends. So a basketball is higher on either side, and then the soccer goals has a higher fence above it. So you're not kicking balls out of it or losing balls out of it all the time. There's a number that've been built around an interstate. That's what it is. But yeah, we did have some interest. We did have some at the name.
If I may, Mr. Chair, perhaps tell us about the Matthews Park playground as well.
So yes, the Matthews Park playground, after many delays through weather, is being completed now and due for completion end of this month, weather permitting. It's a Future Cities project that we started last year and basically haven't been able to complete due to weather conditions and then COVID constraints. But hopefully we get that done by the end of the month. So that'll be another playground in the centre of town there for people to use.
Mr. Chair, are you keeping the pond in the final design or not?
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, water supply. Councillor Miletto.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A question to probably Mr. Maunder. With regards to projects moving forward to 22-23, I raised this with Mayor when he was a councillor last year with regards to drainage down the side of the fields at Jack Brabham Park, fields 1 and 4 and 2 and 3. There's been an ongoing problem there over the years where water pumps on either side. As council will be aware, there was a disruption out there on the weekend, which is going to be addressed, and thank you for getting onto that so quickly. But I'm just wondering, moving forward into the future, whether there's any focus by council to address that ongoing drainage issue on the sides of those fields, which cause major problems every year.
Short answer, councillor, is yes. So the 8 multi-purpose fields will come online, and then once they're completed, can then move to completing some of that solving that drainage problem along that eastern side of those fields. And they'll be out of action whilst that work's conducted, but we'll have the other fields to use whilst that work's being done. But so that's the idea. There's also some levelling and different height work that we want to do on those existing fields. If you're fielding at second slip on some of those ovals, you're a long way below where the batter is. So there's some works there that we have planned for those ovals for remediation once the other fields come online.
And would that remediation extend to the other side, which would be the western side of Jack Brabham Park? I know that it was scarified last years ago, but what's occurring there is there's a lot of patches which appear to be below the shiny surface.
Yeah, it does.
And I guess when you are constructing football fields of any description, it needs to be a dome, and for some reason those fields seem to be flat, which is causing problems. And last year we lost about 6 or 7 weeks because we couldn't get on those fields. And is that a issue which is going to be addressed as well?
Yeah. It is, councillor, something that we've planned to do. The irrigation in that northwestern corner is the issue predominantly for that area. It was an area where there was a circus some years ago, which was the root of the problem, really, for that area. And so part of that remediation work is certainly planned to be conducted.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Duffy.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for noticing.
Noticed.
My question is, I want to thank the CEO for bringing this thing forward, because I mean it's a great learner for most of them. See what's actually happening within all the departments. Yes, but my question goes straight to hearing is the issue. I look under stabilising, reseals and minor projects. Now, I go through Rutherford Road every day, and I can assure you there's humps up there twice the size of a herd of camels are from Alice Springs. I mean, they're absolutely huge. And I just wonder whether we're going to get around to that under a mate.
Rutherford.
You'll take it on notice. Thanks, Councillor Duffy.
Yes.
Councillor Whitten.
A question, and Councillor Miletto has just reminded me when he was talking about Jack Brabham. There's when they replaced the lights there and they put the new shelters in, the electrical people put a safety mat over the wire that rests on the light. That was about several years ago, and I noticed that it's still there, and I'm just wondering, it's ultimately going to wear through with the weather rubbing on it, and that pole's going to become alive.
Probably why we've got no lights out there at the moment.
Okay.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Councillor Kinghorn.
This is just a question. I see on this list the Spring Hill Oval picket fence still in the planning stage, and I'm just curious about how this works. Is that just because we've obviously reallocated those funds to Rowena Oval and the fence is finished there and it looks quite good? I walked past it the other day. Does that just stay on that list until the next financial year? How does that work? I just saw it there and thought, I thought we weren't doing that anymore.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the reason it's still on there is because the committee, the Crown Land Trust received some funding for that project end of last year. So we've just left it on the project list as a job that will be completed. We will.
Won't be funding it.
We'll assist them, but we're not proposing to fund it at this point. May. Sorry, we haven't had a committee meeting with Spring Hill since yeah.
No other speakers? Oh, Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just on the water fountain in Robertson Park, says it's in progress still. Just wondering if you got a time frame on it. We're starting to, now we're out of COVID, have a lot more events down in Robertson Park. It'd be good to sort of have it going again.
Is that the one Councillor Duffy was talking about?
The water fountain?
Whitney Fountain.
Whitney Fountain?
Whitney Fountain, yes, it's been a long project. So we do have a solution for the pump and the actual functioning of the fountain itself. So those works have been commissioned or in progress, so it shouldn't be too far away. There is a second stage restoration proposed for the fountain. When it was put in that location, it has been relocated from its original location. The marble base of it is actually below the waterline. So there has been some identified works that are required to restore the spire, if you like, in the middle. They're significant. When I say significant, I mean a couple $100,000. And there is also some repair work to the bulb itself. So we've had a couple of people have a look at it. Again, the most recent examination was 2 weeks ago. And that's the order of cost. So we'll come back to council with what the different options are and what we can do. So whether we accept it as it is in its current condition and reseal the bowl, obviously get the pump functioning again. I mean, we can do relatively cheaply. If you do the full restoration, it's of that order.
Excellent, thank you.
Any other speakers? I just want to make a comment. Well, tonight there's 3 playgrounds that we've approved. There's the Rage Cage, Matthews Park and the indoor. So great news. Am I right in saying that? They're going ahead. I saw the concrete truck at Matthews Park on Monday. So, yeah, fantastic. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? Unanimous. Item 6 is closed meeting. The Chief Executive Officer will advise the Council if any written submissions have been received relating to any item advertised for consideration for closed meeting of Orange City Council.
There have been no such submissions.
In accordance with the Local Government Act 1993 and the Local Government General Regulation 2005, in the opinion of the Chief Executive Officer, the following business is of kind as referred in Section 10A/2 of the Act and should be dealt with in a confidential session of council meeting closed to the press and public. 6.1 Tender Water Meter Reading 2022 to 2025. This item is classified confidential under the provisions of the Section 10A(2) of the Local Government Act 1993, which permits the meeting to be closed to the public for business relating to bracketed D1. I haven't got my glasses, sorry. Commercial information of a confidential nature that would be disclosed, if disclosed prejudicial
Prejudicial.
Find another word for that one. Prejudice the commercial position of a person who supplied it. Seconded. All those in favour? Against? Carried.